So I know he's going to rock the house. I'm very excited to have him here. And why don't we welcome, if you haven't seen him on TV, if you haven't seen him on all of his podcasts, Charles Weinraub, the handsome homebuyer.
Thank you. Love you. Appreciate you. Love you. Cool. All right. So this is a bit of a surreal moment for me. I got my start here. East Coast REIA is my home. So how many people here, show of hands, have never done a real estate deal before? Never done a real estate deal. How many people have done real estate deals, but they're still working a job that they really don't like, and they want to do real estate full time? All right, so I lived it, I get it. So about a decade ago, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I owned a business that I really didn't like, and I'm like, you know what, that's it. I'm going to be a professional investor, and I'm going to flip houses. And every person I knew, including my parents, who are extremely supportive people, by the way, are like, kid, you're out of your mind. There is no way that you can flip a house. Like, the world just came to an end. Like, what do you mean you're gonna buy a house for hundreds of thousands of dollars that you don't have that belong to somebody else? Oh, cool. Okay, perfect. Put money into it and sell it 60 days later and make all this money, like that's impossible. It's not gonna happen. So I walked into this room. Chris Romano was there. Ralph was there. Eric, get the F out of beat, was definitely there. I sat in that chair right over there. It looks the same, it smells the same, it's all the same. Right? Carl was in the back, he had a little table set up, and I wandered over to him, and I was like, listen, I'll be a professional real estate investor, and I signed up to mentor with him. And we spent 2 years working together until I was ready, I felt, to do my first deal. Then it took me an entire year after that to actually find the first deal. And it wasn't easy. And Carl and I had a lot of these battles because, listen, I was 30 years old at the time or close to it. And when you're 30, you feel like you're getting old, right? I'm like, listen, I gotta, like, whatever I put my effort into, I have to put it 100%, and it has to work, right? Because all of a sudden I'm gonna be old and life's gonna be over and I'm gonna be disappointed in myself. So I'm like, Carl, this has to work. And he's like, it's gonna work. And it did. So it took 3 years. And last month I bought 17 houses in 1 month. I completely revamped my business about 9 months ago. I have an amazing team, and I wake up every day with the greatest life ever, right? So I tell you that for 2 reasons. One, I want everybody to understand what's possible. 10 years ago, I walked into that room, and I didn't know shit. And 10 years later, I don't have to work anymore, but more importantly, I love what I do every day, and I am thoroughly happy. And I've been able to give a lot of opportunity to deserving people who have helped me achieve the goals that I have, and many of them are in this room, so thank you. The second reason is, none of that would have been possible without Carl. Carl is like my father, he's like my uncle. He has selflessly dedicated his entire life to educating all of us and helping us realize what the best version of ourselves are. So Carl, I love you. We all love you. We are all here and all doing these things because of you. So thank you. All right, cool. So can everybody hear me? Because I'm not really like a podium type of guy. I have like ADD, a lot of energy, and I got to walk around. So can you hear me in the back, in the cheap seat? All right, great. So I have 45 minutes to delve into 3 very important topics that could be an entire day by themselves. So I'm going to hit very high level, right, for about 45 minutes, 15 minutes each block. And then I'm going to open it up to whatever questions you guys have. I want you to understand here, as Carl said, there's nothing that I know that I'm not happy to share with you. We are not competition. We are here together to help each other. There are so many houses on Long Island. If individually we all wanted to buy them all, it's impossible. There's thousands and thousands and thousands. So I encourage you guys to share and help one another, because that's ultimately how we all get up the mountain. And that's not motivational TikTok bullshit. That is actually real. I believe that, right? So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Charles Weinraub, aka the Handsome Homebuyer, right? Another thing, everybody told me I was an ass for calling myself the Handsome Homebuyer. My ex-wife is like, what kind of a vain a-hole calls himself the Handsome Homebuyer? I'm like, listen, I'm a soft 6, great personality, brings me into the 9 range, right? So it works. Like if I was really good looking, like if I looked like our friend over there, Chris Romano, I'd be like, this guy's a dick. Like he's handsome and he's calling himself handsome. So for me, it works. If you don't follow me on social media, I'd appreciate the follow. So with that said, we're gonna get into our first topic, which is probably what everybody in here wants to know, which is how do you create a lead generation machine? So let me give you a little bit of quick backstory. Up until probably 9 months ago, my entire business was sourced by relationships. So I went out there and I made relationships with real estate agents and attorneys and wholesalers and people like that. And I bought 50 plus houses a year without spending any money, just based off of these relationships. Now that's a great thing. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, right? If you want to expand, you can only expand so far. But the bad thing is you don't have a business, you own a job. Now it might be a very high paying job, but it's a job because you can't separate yourself from it, right? They only want to deal with me. But there's good parts to it, right? I don't have to spend any money on advertising, and just as long as you foster and maintain those relationships, those deals come in and come in and come in and come in. And it was amazing. And I built a massive rental portfolio and a massive business, and it was great. But if you're looking to not have a job, which most people do, and you want to run a business, you have to change. It has to be different. You need systems and KPIs and people. And I always say, and I'll talk about this after, building a business is really easy. It's really easy to build a business if you work your ass off that can make money. It's very hard to scale a business. That is different. And side note, everything that Carl says, we should all listen to, because, he told me a lot of things over the years, and it all goes in, but it doesn't all register at the same time. And then as I get older and things happen, I'm like, yeah, he's right about that. Yeah, he's right about that. Yeah, he's right about that. So sometimes things hit you at different points in times. So let's talk about building this real estate lead generation for me, right? So it all starts with a plan and goals. Like to get somewhere, you have to know where you're going, and then you can figure out how to get there. Like Carl eloquently said before, he's like, I want to flip 10 houses. Great. What's the plan to get there, right? What are you doing tomorrow, the next day? How many houses do you have to buy a month? What does that look like? How many leads do you need? It all breaks down to numbers. And you're talking to somebody who barely made it out of high school, and the thought of a business plan is really torturous, but it is super important to do this because you're just not going to succeed at a very high level without it. So you need to have a plan, you need to have goals, and you need to obsess about them, right? One quick thing, and I learned this when I was about 30, and I really wish I knew this when I was from birth. I might have been a professional hockey player, despite the size. But what it takes to be great at something, okay? It takes just sickening, obsessive work ethic that nobody that is going to understand in your life. And there's a lot of sacrifice involved in that. Like Carl said before, what are you willing to give up to be great, right? And there's sacrifice. I'm 44. I'm not married, although I do have a great girlfriend now, and I probably will get married. But I don't have any kids. I worked 7 days a week for a very long time. But that 10-year block basically changed my entire life. What are you willing to do now or for a certain period of time to change your life and effectively change your kids' lives, all right? You need way more leads than you think. We'll break this all out later, but at the end of the year, if you're monitoring it, your conversions are a math equation. So I tell this to realtors all the time. They're like, I don't want to deal with shitty leads. I don't want to take that Zillow call, whatever. The more people you have, it breaks out like this, hypothetically. For every 200 people you talk to, you're going to get a deal. So for every call you miss or every conversation you don't have, you're that much further away because you have to have 200 conversations to get a deal. So it's extremely important to be able to build a mechanism to bring you as many deals as possible, because deals fall apart all the time. You need that volume. Another mentor of mine recently told me, you need to build a marketing company. You're not a real estate investor, you're a real estate marketer that brings deals in. And once you bring deals in, you then have the opportunity to dispo those deals in a number of different ways, depending on your strategy, depending on the money, depending on your capacity, your construction, geographic location. But that's your business. You're not a real estate investor, you're a marketer who brings deals in. And that completely changed my entire mindset, and stripped my entire business down and rebuilt it over the last 6 months. All right? The deals are in the data. Now, what do I mean by that? That's a lot. There's a lot to data. So the biggest problem with real estate investors is they don't run a real estate business, like a corporate business. Now, I'm not saying be ultra corporate, but you have to bring in certain components of corporate America to be able to run and scale an effective business. So data, what does that mean? You have to be monitoring in real time what is going on in your business. How many leads are coming in? Where are they coming from? Who is your seller? Who are your clients? Where are you harvesting data to go out and market towards, right? This is what you have to constantly be reviewing on a constant basis, or you have no idea where your deals are coming from, how they're gonna perform, how much money you're spending on advertising. Is it even working? All right? Come up with a budget and stick to it. Here's the problem with people and marketing in general. They're like, I'm gonna go send mailers, and I'm gonna go send $2,000 worth of direct mail. And they send it out, and they wait, and the phone doesn't ring. Or maybe it rings once or twice, and they don't get anything. They're like, I'm not doing this again. I just blew $2,000. That's $2,000. You have to commit to it, right? You have to say, hey, this is my budget, and I'm gonna do it for 6 months. And come hell or high water, it's like going to the craps table and throwing it down. You have to say, I am comfortable losing this money in order to try to build my business. So you have to do that. You have to plan as far as the marketing goes. You have to have a budget, you have to put it together, you have to sit down, you have to say, this is how I'm gonna go market through these different verticals, these different means. I'm gonna allocate X amount of dollars per vertical. I'm gonna monitor the results of this, and believe it, it sounds easy when I'm standing here saying it. Don't get discouraged, it's not. This is hard. Like, all of this is very, very hard. All right? The biggest investors are the ones that are spending the most money. It is that simple, right? What it comes down to essentially is this. You are going to spend a certain amount of money on different verticals of means of bringing in deals. And you are going to, over a period of time, get a consistent return. Once you have established a consistent return and you realize that it works and you're going to consistently make 3 times, 4 times, 9 times, 10 times on your ad spend, you dump gasoline on it. The whole point of what you're supposed to do in marketing is this. You're supposed to test something to get a predictable outcome and then spend as much money as humanly possible on it until you reach the point of diminishing return. So, Johnny, let me ask you a question. Let's say you make $10,000 on a loan, right? We'll make up a number. And let's say that for every $1,000 in ad spend, you're going to get, every time you spend $1,000, you're going to get a loan to make 10 grand. So that's 10 times your money. How much money would you want to spend? You want to, let's say you want to spend $1 million. Basically, there's no cap to how much money you can spend until all of a sudden you're making $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. You understand what I'm saying? You have to spend money. The problem, can you not hear me? Oh, really?
Please.
Can you guys hear me? Oh.
Sorry.
You're gonna be that guy, huh?
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's how advertising works. You figure it out. There you go. Discount on my next stair railing, right? There you go. I'm pretty sure you've been in my DMs. Is that you? You're that guy. All right, cool. All right, so
He's the best.
that's what you're trying to do with marketing. You're testing, you're getting a predictable result, and then you're dumping gasoline on it. And the worst thing is, it only lasts for like a certain amount of time, and then it gets the hell beat out of it, and then you have to innovate and go on to something else. So the biggest regret is that you didn't spend enough money on something when you found something that worked. We trade money for time and time for money. So at the very beginning of my career, I didn't have any money. So what did? I networked like an absolute savage animal. Not good looking, pretty charismatic. So it works. So I was out 3, 4, 5 nights a week meeting people, and that is ultimately how I started building my business. I made friends with people. At the beginning, you have to use your time because you don't have any money. As you start to make money, you can use money to buy back your time to be more efficient and do the things that we're talking about right now. Quantify everything, especially return on ad spend. So again, very important, and we'll get into how you do that, but it could be as basic as a spreadsheet. It is extremely important for you guys to monitor and quantify everything that is going on in your business. Every phone call, every appointment. How many calls do you get? How many appointments do you go on? How many do you close? That will give you a predictable percentage. If I'm going to spend $5,000 on direct mail, and I'm going to spend 5,000 mailers, and I get 10 phone calls, 3 appointments, and 1 deal, my cost per deal is $5,000. My cost per appointment is $1,750. You have to know these things, or you can't build a business. All right? Know your seller. Who is your seller? Let me tell you who your seller is on Long Island. I'm going to tell you right now. Everybody want to know? Yeah. Everybody want to know?
Yes.
All right. 2 main people. Angry conservative Republicans with Trump flags flying in their house who want to leave New York as fast as humanly possible. This goes for realtors and real estate investors. I am telling you, every time my field team goes out and they come back with pictures, there's a Trump flag waving in the garage or the living room, dead ass. Why do you think I'm on Fox News? Right? 2, people that inherit houses. And then 3, people in some level of financial distress. But mostly death and let me get the hell out of here. Those are the things. And they're always going to the same place. I'm going to North Carolina. I'm going to Pennsylvania. I'm going to Texas. I'm going to Florida. Screw Biden. I'm out. All right? That is exactly the conversation every single time. Okay. So know your seller. Business is a popularity contest. It is that simple. People do business with Pocket Pete because they love him. He's handsome. He sounds like a radio personality. And he brings fucking cookies. And they're good. Right? It's that simple. People will do business. Realtors call me because they like me. And I provide an experience for them, and they want the ride. Because we do it together, and it's fun. That's why people work with me. Nobody wants to work with someone that sucks. And we'll get to that later, because I see people every day doing things that, getting to a place where they build a relationship and then sabotaging the relationship by not doing the right thing and maintaining the relationship with short-sightedness. Okay? Create experience for the people you work with. Very important to create an experience for everybody that works with you in every capacity. And that's your lenders, that's your realtors, that's your employees, that is everybody. Let me give you an example. There are some realtors in this room, maybe right now, who I might be doing a deal with at this moment, right? Or have in the past. So when you're a realtor that works with me, what happens? You bring me a deal, I call you right back, I thank you, I appreciate it, I always deliver, it's a smooth process, right? Now we do the house, I gut renovate it, it's beautiful, and then all of a sudden, I'm gonna promote you, we're gonna make videos together, you're gonna come on the podcast, we're having a great time, and then you're gonna get an email from my staff when it's ready to list it. You're gonna have professional pictures there, a description. Sal Rizzolo's gonna be on it saying, hey, I'm here to underwrite all the deals that come in to make sure that your deal doesn't fall apart after you just worked your ass off and we've been under contract for 8 weeks, right? And we have a great time. And then when the deal is done, I do something nice and personal for them. Like I'll give you an example. I just did a deal with a guy named Pete, not that Pete, but a different Pete. And I appreciate him bringing me the deal because you know what? He can bring it anywhere. Why is he going to bring it to me? So I'm like, Pete, what do you do for fun? He's like, love golf. Just been doing golf. Love it. So what do? I get handsome Homebuyer cards. I go on Amazon and I buy this little binocular thing that when you're a golfer and you're standing out there, you point it where you want to hit it and it tells you how far. And I put a little card and I box it up and I send it to him. And I'm like, listen, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to work with you because I know that it could have been anybody else. The next time that guy gets a house that smells like cat pee, who else is he called? Nobody. Nobody. I love you all. None of you guys have a shot. Not gonna happen. All right, so we're gonna break up getting deals into two different ways. The free way and the paid way, right? If you don't have money, you gotta do it the free way. When you start getting money, don't go buy stupid crap that you don't need and then invest it in paid ways to make more money so then you never have to worry about it. Right? If you're 25 years old and you just did your first flip, you don't need a $1,500 a month car payment, okay? You don't. You don't need a Rolex. I don't even own a watch. You don't need any of it. So, networking with everybody. Carl told me this a long time ago. Walked into the meeting, sat down, smelled the chicken parm, didn't know anything. Carl's like, your network is your number one source of deals. And for many, many years, it was. Chris Ramato has built a very big real estate legal business off of the fact that this dude is out 6 nights a week, right? And when he was single, it was really wild, right? So that's what it is. If you go out and the more people you know, the more attorneys you know, the more realtors you know, the more people you have conversations with, the more people you speak to, shake their hands, the more deals you're gonna do. Pro tip, right? This is super important. You go out, you meet people, you shake their hand. Don't talk about yourself, right? Ask these people what it is that their dreams are, what they're looking to do, right? What's important to them. And then think about your network and figure out ways that you can connect those people with other people to selflessly help them. Like, most people are talking and you're not listening to them. Listen to what they're saying, try to help them. You would be absolutely shocked at how that comes back to help you. It's a very simple concept that most people don't understand, okay? Auctions, so they have auctions both online and in person. Tough thing, listen, some guys do well at the auctions. Auctions are tough, right? If you're not Chris Romano, you're not getting deals at auctions. It's that simple, right? Couple people. So, Nassau County, really tough. A lot of people there, prices don't make sense. Suffolk County, very difficult. Logistics, you're running around. You really need a team and you really need to know what you're doing, right? So it's not the easiest way to get deals. And a lot of the deals are expensive. So they have online auctions, right? Like, Zoom, Hubzu, all that stuff. That stuff was awesome. Like 6 years ago, I was buying houses in Mastic for like 50 grand on Hubzu. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then all of a sudden, the $50,000 house was $300,000. So you have to take advantage of, what's good when it's good. All right? There's the MLS. Listen, Carl's been preaching this for my entire life. Who thinks there are no deals on the MLS? You guys are lying. All of you guys are lying. Myself included, I'm like, screw the MLS. It's on the MLS, I don't want it. That shit's overpriced. But at the beginning, this is what I would do. I would sit there on the MLS all day like a sicko. And I would just hit refresh on the new deals, like every 15 minutes. And then when a new deal popped on the market, I would call the realtor. The realtor was like, what? I just hit enter. I would be there and be like, all right, listen, what do we got to do to shut this thing down now? Let's be done. I'm giving you the listing back. I'll do whatever the hell I have to do. I got cookies too, right? And that's how I did, like, my first year in business. I did 10 years off of that hustle. Like, that was crazy. There are deals. Carl buys. Are you still buying deals?
Last 2 years, not so much.
But before
Working on my own house.
for the past 2 years. But before that, Carl would buy, whatever, a house a quarter or whatever it was, always off the MLS. He'd always get a great deal. He'd always make money right on the MLS. Everybody saw the deal. Carl got it, right? And not because he even knew the realtor. He just called him up and said, I'm going to do the deal. I'll pay X. Knock on doors. Carl said it before. This is really 85% of success is having the guts to actually go out and do something. How many people here know somebody that is shot, but they do very well in their industry and they are shot? Like, the elevator doesn't go to the top floor. They are half a mess, right? Everybody in here knows that. No one's raising their hand, huh? Everybody. So, and then there are people that are absolutely brilliant, but they never go and do it. Like, they don't take the initiative, so nothing really ever happens. So door knocking, open houses. Listen, I have been to so many open houses, it's bananas. I walk in with my investment criteria, and I walk in and I see the open house. Why am I there? Yeah, I'll see the house. I'm there to meet the realtor. Go around the house, introduce yourself to the realtor, give them the investment criteria, say, listen, I'm looking to buy houses in the area, I'm legit, here's my proof of funds, here's this, right? Here's my investment criteria. I'm looking for houses in Mastic with taxes that are less than $8,000 a year that I can rehab that I'm looking to buy for under $200,000 a year. Not bring me something that makes sense. No realtor is bringing you a house that makes sense. They don't know, that's not what they do. They're professional salespeople. They're not investors that are underwriting your deals. They have no idea. You have to be very specific as to what it is that you're looking for. Yo, social media is the greatest thing ever. Literally ever. It's free. And one video, like this sounds really cliche, but let's be cliche, right? One video can change your life. Really quick story. I talk about this sometimes, but not everybody here knows me, so I'll talk about it very quickly. Coolest thing I do, not real estate. Coolest thing I do is I go to restaurants that I like, and I do a food review on the restaurant. So I go into this place, La Valletta, it's in Farmingdale, it's an Italian place. It literally looks like it is going out of business. There are 3 people in the restaurant. Like, the food is as good as it gets, Italian-wise. No disrespect. No disrespect. You might be the next food review, don't worry. Right? And I'm sitting there and I'm with my girlfriend, I'm like, there's nobody in this place. Like, what's going on? So Scott and I, who's running around with the camera in here, thank you, Scott. I'm like, I'm gonna talk about this place. I talk about this place. Video goes viral, 600,000 views in like 20 days. People are cursing me out. You're not really an Italian. Jews don't know Italian food. I'm like, we're the same people, right? Like Sebastian Maniscalco says, same corporation, different divisions. So I don't think anything of it. I go back in 30 days. Place is mobbed. Can't get in the door. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Guy comes over, gives me a hug, sits me down, and he's like, buys me dinner and says, this is from the video. And that was like a year ago. That place is packed every freaking night. They had amazing food. I didn't do anything. But that one video, for some reason, just changed the game. And I've done that probably with a half a dozen to a dozen businesses since then. The point is, one video could literally change your entire life. Pretty sure it changed Justin Bieber's life too, right? I don't know for the better, but it definitely changed Justin Bieber's life. So, social media, right? All you need is a phone. You don't need a crazy camera crew. You don't need any of that stuff. I started a podcast with no video in a roach-infested basement, 6 years ago. So, just get out of your own head and just make videos. Nobody cares what you look like. Nobody cares what you sound like. It doesn't matter. I am a bold, middle-aged, nasally sounding Jewish man. It doesn't really get worse than that. I promise you, it'll be okay. Right? You making videos, buddy?
Yeah.
You're handsome, you got a good head of hair, your hairline hasn't moved since high school. You have no excuse. Right? This is the reality. Social media, every day. I put out videos every single day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Most people in here are definitely tired of seeing me, but people don't know they need you until they need you. Example, if I'm putting out content every day and then a real estate agent gets a deal and they're not thinking about it, but then when they open their phone, because everyone's addicted to their phone, they see me doing a food review, they're like, I'm gonna call that guy. That's how it happens. Start a podcast. A podcast is the greatest thing you could do. If I could only do one thing, it would be have a podcast. A podcast is the most selfish yet seemingly selfless thing that you could possibly do. Why do I have a podcast? Because most people might think that don't know me, think I'm a little out there. right? 2 or 3K away came my podcast. That's now we're great friends. But after the podcast, he goes, listen, I got to be honest with you. It's like, I thought you were an absolute douchebag. And yeah, I came on your podcast and like, you're not, like, you're a nice guy. But I still, like, I want to hate your guts. But you're not. So, like, now we're friends and we've done amazing things together. And I've introduced him to people and he's introduced me to people. And we have changed each other's lives, right? If I called him up and just said, hey, let's talk about business, he'd be like, who is this creepy weirdo? But if I call him up and like, I have a podcast, no one's going to turn down a podcast. They're not. So now we're great friends. And I can call them and we're in each other's social circle, which is the most important thing. Second, I now have that content that I could repurpose and share. And then I'm going to tag the person that's in the video, and they're going to share it with their network. And they're basically sharing me all over the place and thanking me for it at the same time, because everybody likes that kind of experience. I enjoyed it the first time somebody brought me on, and after that I was hooked, right? So, get creative. Come up with creative ways for free that you can meet people and ultimately get deals, all right? People want to sell things to people they like and enjoy being around. Like I said before, it is very, very, very important to be liked, to be a nice person, okay? Don't be cheap, short-sighted, and a ball buster. Let me give you an example. I do wholesale deals. Now, there's obviously a fee of a wholesale. There is transfer tax associated with that. It's like $200. It's like nothing. Would you believe when I call a guy to wholesale him a deal, he's breaking my chops over paying $200. Shots fired, right? I mean, every realtor in this room can talk about that. A realtor brings you a deal, and then you don't do as well as you want. So you're asking them to cut the commission, or like you don't give them the listing back. Like, the level of stupidity that goes on is mind-blowing. Don't do that. Be nice to people. Don't sweat the small stuff. There are people that I've done hundreds of deals with, literally, and just off of the fact that they liked me, I was easy to deal with, and I never busted their chops. Hey, this person needs a post-position for 60 days. Is that cool? No problem. Hey, I didn't realize that there was a cleanup on this one. It's $3,000. You cool with that? Yeah, no problem. There are people here that break balls for less than $100. It is literally the dumbest possible thing you could do, because guess who's not getting a deal ever again? That guy who busted my chops for $200. Let's say he did that flip and made 60 grand. And I bought 17 houses last month. I could probably give that guy at least a house a month. So if he made 50 grand a house and I could give him a house a month if I liked him, he can make $600,000 a year just by knowing me. Would anybody be happy making $600,000 a year? This is a very overachieving room. I like it. Like 2%. People are like, 600,000. Wife, 2 girlfriends, a boat. Can't pay for that shit with 600,000. All right, so let's talk about pay to play now, right? And I'm not reinventing the wheel here, guys. I'm not. Nothing I'm going to tell you is like, oh, I haven't heard that before. Maybe the way I say it, impacts you, right? People have to hear different things at different times. Scott, can you do me a favor, buddy? Can you just grab me that Poland Spring right next to your right arm? Thank you. So TV. How many people have seen me on TV? Everybody in this room has not seen me on TV. Yeah. It works. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So, but how do I know it works? Because I'm tracking it, because I'm monitoring it, because I'm figuring out for every X amount of dollars I spend on TV, I get Y amount of leads. I get Z amount of deals, and it makes sense, or I wouldn't do it. People take selfies with me in gas stations because they think I'm actually somebody. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. People stop me on the street, take pictures of me and say, I have to send it to my wife. She is never going to believe that a guy that trudges around in houses that stink like cat piss, it makes absolutely no sense. Like, congratulations, you're on TV. I'm like, bro, for money, you could be on TV too. Doesn't make any sense. But it works, right? And if it works, but what are we gonna do? If we're gonna spend money on TV, what are we gonna do? We're gonna make sure it's working. We're gonna quantify it. We're gonna monitor it. We're gonna make sure that we're getting a return on ad spend, or we're not going to do it. Right? Radio. Radio works. Jingles. I'm singing. Everyone see this stuff that I do? I'm humping a 2x4 on national TV. It's ridiculous. And why do I do that, right? Fortunately for me, society has no hold on me, right? I literally don't care what other people think, which is the most important thing. The second thing that I always said to myself is, I am more afraid of being average than I am of being broke. Right? The worst thing you want to do is be 90-something years old and being like, I didn't take this shot. Because what's the worst thing that happens? I go boom, back in with my parents, my mom does my laundry and cooks for me. Like, what is the worst thing that happens? That? Okay, awesome. I love my mom. I would move back in right now, but she's like, after 40, you'd be creepy like Uncle Ummi. We're not doing that. You're out. Like, you're never coming back. Fortunately, I can afford it, so it's okay. Direct mail. Direct mail. Big thing. Who sells houses mostly? How old are the angry Republicans? How old are they? Older, right? They don't do the tech thing. They actually open direct mail. Boomers open mail. Direct mail works. The problem is, you can't send direct mail one time and then get pissed that it didn't work. You have to spend real money to do it. And you have to commit to it, and you have to do it over and over and over again. And you have to test different copies and formats. And sometimes you're throwing your money in the garbage. But you know what the great thing is? This is New York. Like, I've met the biggest wholesalers and flippers in the country. And when I share with them how the margins are in New York, they look at me like I just invented fire. There are people doing wholesale deals in Ohio for $3,000.
Right.
Real deal, $5,000. Guys are doing flips to make $15,000. One of these guys I know has a big operation, doing 300 houses a year in Indiana. You know what his average profit is? $17,000. That is bananas. That would scare the crap out of me. Right? One thing goes wrong, you're losing everything. Right? And stuff does go wrong. Texting, texting is having a moment. Texting works. It does. You have to be careful. There's a lot of compliance issues. We won't go into that. But texting works. Cold calling works. If you don't have any money, you can call. The moment you have money, you should absolutely not be cold calling. Really, you shouldn't be cold calling yourself. You can have some guy or girl in another country for $6 an hour on a dialer ripping out 400 calls a day. Why would you ever cold call if you didn't have to? It makes absolutely no sense. Does cold call work? Absolutely. PPC, another thing. You really gotta know what you're doing. Can get very expensive. Works. SEO, long-term game, need to hire people. Most SEO PPC companies are terrible. They're just ripping you for a percentage of ad spend, which is a stupid business model, and they're not optimizing you, and you're throwing your money in the garbage. But it does work in the right situation. Paid social media, it works. But what really works is when you start, let's talk about it, right? Last slide. Data, find the data. Angry Trumpers, right? This is who they are. This is not a political thing, one way or another. I'm just telling you, these are the people that sell houses, right? If they see you on TV, if they hear you on the radio, if they get a text from you, a cold call from you, and when they search on the computer, you pop up, guess what? They're gonna be like, if I sell you my house, will you leave me alone? Will you stop following me around the internet, please? Right? It works. All right, so this is an old Carl line. He'll appreciate this. What's the hardest part of investing? Don't give it away. So how many people in here think if they just had the money, they would be flipping tons of houses, doing deals, doing all this stuff? Be honest. Raise your hand if you think if you just had the money. Money's the hardest part of real estate investing. You guys are all lying tonight. Everyone's lying. Well, there's a lot of OGs in here, so I give it to that. So most people outside of this room would say the money is the most difficult part of real estate investing. It's not. Contractors are the most difficult part of real estate investing. Right? Second is getting deals, but contractors are very, very difficult. So, let's get into raising private money. So before we get into raising private money, did everybody learn something about getting deals?
Yes.
Right? Did everybody find that to be useful?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll answer any question you guys want at the end of these other two segments about that if you have more in-depth questions about any of those things. But in 15 minutes, and I basically doubled that, we can't dive that much more into it. So raising private money. So now you have the deal, because you've been dancing on TV like me, and somebody calls you and says, I want to sell you my house, fantastic. But now you don't have any money, you got to figure it out. Me personally, I never worry about step 2 unless I figure out step 1. So a lot of people are like, I can't flip houses, I don't have any money. I was like, you don't have a deal either, so it doesn't really matter. You get the deal. When you get the deal, you'll figure out where the money comes from, always. Never worry about B, C, and D if you haven't figured out A. All right, so stop relying on institutional hard money lenders. They will fail you when you need them the most. Let me tell you a story. And this was a thing that Carl told me from the beginning, which is absolutely invaluable on a number of different levels. The first thing Carl said to me was, you're going to learn how to raise private money. And I did, and we'll talk about that now. But something happened a few years ago you may or may not have remembered. It was called COVID. Anybody remember COVID?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Everyone's still with me. So what happened in COVID? All of a sudden the world shut down. I didn't shut down, but the world shut down. And something happened that was very good for me. There was a lot of deals because people were freaking out. And all institutional hard money lenders lost their credit lines. And I had raised tens of millions of dollars in private money. So what do you think happened? I bought 16 houses in the first freaking month. And that happened for like 3 months in a row because nobody had any money. I had a brand, I was everywhere, people knew me, and I was the only one with money. So everybody came to me. Chris Romano was charging 16% and 8 points at that time. He's like, this is great, never end. He was spreading propaganda on his own. People are dying in the street, stay in, right? So how do you go and raise private money? You put together something called a private lender package. So what is a private lender package? A private lender package is a packet that you put together that's not very complicated, that gives the world the illusion, especially at the beginning, that you actually know what the hell you're doing. This is something I want you guys to understand. We all need each other, meaning lenders and investors both need each other. But in a respectful way, I will say that there is much more money chasing people like you than there are people like you. Does everybody understand that? And Carl told me a very long time ago, and at the beginning I was like, actually I always believed him. I just didn't truly understand it because you just don't understand at the beginning, right? You learn, still learning. Carl's like, one day you're gonna have so many people throwing money at you that you're not gonna have enough deals to satisfy that. And that's true. I launched my first real estate fund, debt fund last 2 months ago. 10 million bucks, gone. 10 million bucks, filled, bang, nothing, on to the second one, right? So you put together this private lender package, very simple. Okay, now it can be digital, but back then I made like a little booklet. So you have a cover, I'm a little handsome homebuyer guy at the time with the cash like this. And first I do like a one-pager. Just who I am, nobody wants a dissertation on your life, just one page of who you are. The next page is like, who's my team? The next couple pages are like sample deals that I've done or case studies on deals that I would have done. Maybe I put a sample of the contract in there. I put my investment criteria in there. So what does that do? For somebody that has money, they're gonna say, oh, this guy has it together. He's organized. Because here's the good thing about every business, right? 99% of all your competition are morons. They are. Like 99% realtors, 99% of your other realtors, morons. Investors, 99% investors, morons. It is so easy to be successful in every single business. So, and if somebody asks you a question that you don't have the answer to, you say, listen, you know what? I don't have the answer to that question. But you see Bob over here, this handsome guy with a good head of hair? He's on my team in this picture in my private lender package. This guy is a specialist at XYZ. So whatever comes up, we're going to be able to take care of it. Like, no investor knows everything about everything. They just want to feel confident. Lenders want to feel confident that you have a team that can handle anything that comes up. It's that simple. So you put your private lender package together and you start peddling this thing. I did dog and pony shows where I worked with people that had that had networking groups, and I would rent out like Peter Luger, not Peter Luger's, I didn't have that kind of money. I rented out like, what was
Lobster?
it? No, not Red Lobster. What was that other one? Other steakhouse, like Rothman's, or not Rothman's. I couldn't afford that either. Whatever.
Ruth Chris.
No, not Ruth. Yeah, Ruth Chris. It's like $25 a head, and she would bring in like 20 people, and I would stand at the front of the room like this, and I would pitch this thing. And you know, I would document on social media before this whole documenting on social media thing was like a thing of what I'm doing. And I had people that I played like travel baseball with when I was like 7 come out of the woodwork. And just as long as you have this thing and you can have intelligent conversations, you can send it to people, people will loan you money. And first it's 25 grand, it's 50 grand, then all of a sudden they're bringing their buddy in. I have guys with multiple millions of dollars invested with me. I am literally the #1 investment vehicle in Wantor. Right? I have half of Wantor's retirement funds rolled into a self-directed IRA, and I'm freaking paying 10.5% every month in my fund and just getting checks every month. You have to do this. Like, this is how you build a business. All right? Briefly talk about the fund. So I put together a fund, maxed out the fund. We just opened the second fund, right? I guess we're doing that many houses. Think about it, 17 houses last month. Extrapolate that out. My goal is 4 a week. It's 208 for the year. And coincidentally, just to let you guys know what I personally feel is possible, I think that my team and I can do 8 to 12 deals a week in New York. And if you told me that 2 years ago, I'd say you're nuts. New York's the hardest place to do anything. The competition's crazy. There's no inventory. I mean, I took in 10,000 leads last year, and we're only operating at like 25% of our capacity. 8 to 12 deals a week. Imagine that. There are guys in this country in similar type markets that are doing 400 to 650 deals a year. Realtors, you can sell hundreds of houses. The amount of people that want to leave and go to other states is insane. The amount of baby boomers, unfortunately, that are passing is like largest group of people, right? There's a ton of business. So I put together the fund. You too can put together a fund. You know, if you're doing any more than 10, and it doesn't have to be a big fund. A fund can be $500,000. It could be $10 million. It could be $1 billion. But it's essentially a vehicle that you put together where you're giving people a return on their money, and the fund has a finite life, and they put it in, and they have a lockup period, or they don't, and you dictate the terms, right? There's no rules, you dictate the terms. And they get interest checks every month, and you can roll that money as you see fit, which is great. Right? Now you have to know what you're doing, you have to manage it, but you're paying interest on money that you have, so you have to make sure that you have X amount of capital deployed so that you're not paying more than whatever it is that you're putting out. You have to make sure that you don't overextend the fund. You have to know what you're doing. But these types of things are possible. 10 years ago, didn't know a damn thing. Today I have multiple funds of 8 figures each. I have a CFO. So I have a full team of people now. It's like, I have like 40 people that work for me at this point. So we'll get to that after when I get through this. All right, so that's raising private money. Have to raise private money. Not difficult. Private lender package, have conversations, pitch people, show them that you can make them money, be likable, don't be a petty a-hole, right? Do the right thing by people, they will give you money. It's very simple, okay? This is the hardest part, right? How to scale. Scaling is really hard. Like, I'm doing it now. It is hard, like really, really hard. You know, it's 7 days a week a lot of times at the beginning. You're working half in the business, half on the business. It's a lot, right? Things aren't working, they are working. It is very, very difficult. But when you get it, like 2 weeks ago, I had to go out to the store to get something. And when I was out at the store, I realized it was the first time. So I've been in business since I'm 24 years old. 20 years in some type of business, which I really didn't have a business. I always had a job. Had a job my entire life. So about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I'm at Staples and I'm picking up something, and it hits me when I'm walking through the parking lot. I'm like, my business is running without me. Like, leads are coming in, they are getting processed, appointments are being made, field reps are seeing houses, deals are being analyzed, offers are being made, contracts are being signed, deals are being closed, properties are being wholesaled, properties are being renovated, properties are being listed, properties are being sold, and I'm not doing a thing. That's gangster. That is a gangster feeling. So like I said, building a business is easy, scaling is really hard. Reinvest in the business instead of buying stupid ish. Carl doesn't really like when I curse. I'm trying not to. It's difficult. Forgive me, Carl, for any F-bombs during this segment. Yeah, don't do it. Like, don't buy stupid shit you don't need. Invest it into your business. I promise you it's going to pay off. Sacrifice for 5 years, and then you could buy anything you want. Right? Pay for mentorship. I am still paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to be mentored by people that literally changed my life. I worked with Carl for many years, completely changed my life. I just mentored with a gentleman 3 months ago, right? $30,000 for 6 weeks. In the first 4 hours, this guy completely changed my entire life in business. If I only sat with him for 4 hours, it would have been worth a 30 grand. I've had other consultant companies fly in for a day, $20,000. Absolute game changer, bargain, worth 10 times that amount of money. Mentors do something that is so important. They give you something that you can't buy any more of, and that is time. They compress time. I might have learned the same thing in 10 years, but instead I learned it in 4 hours. Will you pay $30,000 to learn 10 years worth of stuff in 4 hours? Yes. People scale businesses, founders don't. This is why scaling a business is very difficult, because it's a completely different skill set than building a business. You can't scale a business on your own. You have to hire the right people in the right situation, in the right structure. People scale businesses. So if you're not a people person that understands how to hire, how to delegate, and how to set up systems, you cannot scale a business. And that's okay. Listen, sidebar. You know why real estate is amazing? Because it can award you any life you want. You want to flip one house a year? Cool. You want to be a part-time realtor? You have a full-time job? Sell 3 houses? Take your kids on vacation? Cool. You want to flip 300 houses? Cool. You don't have to be me or more. You could be anything you want to be. Who to hire and how to hire, very important. Like, when I tell you, I'm going to briefly explain to you how we hire people, it is wild. We use a test called the predictive index test, the PI test. The PI test, for those of you who don't know, is a personality test that's 2 questions that measures 4 attributes of a person's personality. And essentially, it assigns an avatar. So once a person takes this test, it essentially says that they are a maverick or a captain or an altruist or anything. People that have certain personality types are fitted for certain types of jobs. I could play basketball and practice every single day. I am not going to be Michael Jordan. It's just not going to happen. I don't have it, all right? I don't. In the same thing that if somebody doesn't have a certain personality type to be a salesperson, they are never going to be a great salesperson. So when you hire people, it has to be a systematic process. You have to put the right people in the right positions with the right setups, or it's not going to work. SOPs, standard operating procedures. Now we get into all the little acronyms that people love to just throw out, and everybody's like throwing up. Like if I hear KPI one more time, I don't want to hear it. But we got to talk about it because this is real. You want to build a business, this is real. SOPs. I hire a property manager. The property manager comes in. Every aspect of that property manager's job is documented. Hey, this is how you list a property. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 10. Then there's a video of me reciting steps 1 through 10. So when the property manager comes in, I sit him down. I'm like, listen, read all this, watch the videos, come back to me in 6 hours. And if he has a question, hey, I got a question about this. Go to the SOP, read the process, watch the video. That's what you have to do. Poor Scott had to record all those things. Sorry, Scott. That's what you have to do. People, as a whole, like structure for the most part. You have to give them the structure to follow. They don't want to think and do. That's not what they do. You have to put them in a box. You have to put the right person in the right box with the right systems, and they will be amazing at that one thing. And that's all you need them to do is be amazing at that one thing. All right, KPIs, key performance indicators, right? You have to be monitoring all of this stuff. So it's not quite to this point yet, but like this is the dream of probably what will happen in the next 3 months. I'll have a meeting once a week with my chief operating officer, and he will bring me something called a stoplight report. And a stoplight report is metrics or key points on all of my businesses that I want to know about every week. So construction, how many project acquisitions, what's under contract, what's closed, what's coming in, right? What do we wholesale? What do we take down? Construction, how many projects are coming in? What's in phase 1? What's in phase 2? How many projects came to the market? How many projects were on time and on budget? How many projects were not on time and on budget, right? On the rental portfolio, what's our vacancy rate, right? How many properties are listed on the market? What's our outstanding dollar amount, 30, 60, 90 days? Who's in eviction that Eric's throwing out right now, right? So if I'm sitting on a beach and I look at one piece of paper, I'll know exactly what's going on in my business. And I get to be a CEO. And a CEO is somebody that is a visionary that comes up with crazy ideas and then uses his team to implement those ideas. That's how big people like Elon Musk and all these people scale very big businesses very fast. Right? They're masters at delegating, which is difficult. It's difficult for me to do because I've been in the grind for 20 years. You know, how many people like, you're not doing it right, I gotta do it. But like, you shouldn't be doing that. Everybody is guilty of doing that, period. Right? CRM. A CRM is like the most amazing yet torturous thing on the planet. I have got to have spent 3 years and 200 grand trying to figure out how to freaking make a CRM work, right? You cannot do volume as a real estate agent, as a real estate investor, as a widget salesman, if you do not have a CRM that works. It is that simple. Doesn't matter how good of a memory you have, you're going to forget people, you're going to forget when to call them back. You also need the benefit of technology to automate outreach and things like that. You need a CRM that can give you your KPIs and that can help you manage your lead flow. And there's no way that you can do all that paid-to-play marketing if it doesn't have a place to dump into to create a system where your team can monetize those leads. And it's annoying because no CRM you ever buy is going to be perfect for you. And before you end up getting a CRM, you have to literally sit there on a whiteboard and you have to work out your workflows of every little thing that goes on in your business. And until you understand exactly how your business runs, you can't have a functional CRM that works. I wish somebody would have told me this. I'm telling you, hopefully it helps you in some way. It saved me 3 years and 200 grand and probably lost the last 3 strands of hair that I had. All right? Once you develop a system that works, pour gasoline on it. That's simple. When it works, don't back off, pour gasoline on it. Just max it out. Do I have anything else? No. That's it.